And in that silence, there is but the breath of God. The breath of God that fills us from the bottoms of our feet to the top of our head, to the very tips of our outstretched fingers. That breath, the breath that is all. And then the awareness of our heartbeats, the very heartbeat of the divine itself, having its way in physical form as each of us on this planet, let loose to do that which is ours and only ours to do. And as I know that that divine magnificence, whatever we choose to call it, is the back of all creation, I know whatever it is, it with a capital I, created the heavens, the earths, the mountains, the seas, this magnificent and glorious desert that we all call home. I know that each one of us is a divine manifestation of the one let loose right here, whole, perfect, and complete. We stand upon holy ground today as we do every day. Hearts are touched, lives are changed, all because we decided to stand up, to show up, to be the God beings in physical form, to remind one another when we forget. And I know right here, right now, as we move into this alchemy of love celebration, that it is a celebration of love, of light, of all that we are. The music, Reverend Judy-Ann's talk, the love that is shared within these walls as it moves and goes forward tonight into our lives, into this city, this state, changing lives all around this planet, right here, right now. I know the truth. The truth is that we are all powerful, creative, spiritual beings, alive and well, called to do, called to be. And as I speak the words of Ernest Holmes, I close this with knowing that I know that within myself and everyone here, there is that light which is perfect, complete, divine. It was never born and cannot die, for it lives and is God. Within myself and everyone here, there is that life which is filled with wholeness, poise, power, perfection. This life is health, it is abundance, it is love. There is one life, and it is the life of God. This is our life now. And together we say, and so it is.
I am aligned with spirit, with spirit. With spirit, with spirit. I am aligned with spirit, with spirit. With spirit, with spirit. We are all made of love, divine oneness of God. He is the light within acapella song. I know this is not even in the program, but just because I'm feeling it right now, it's really simple. Where there is faith, there is love. And where there is love, there is peace. And where there is peace, there is God. There is God. And where there is God, there is no need. Where there is faith, there is love. And where there is love, there is peace. And where there is peace, there is God. There is God. And where there is God, there is no need. Thank you.
Well, here's what I invite you to do. Put your hands together. That was the lovely JJ. I know I'm not the only one that felt that. I have asked these folks, don't have me up here crying. It's so not cute. Where there is God, there is no need. However, now that we are here, let us go. And I am so, you are the perfect congregants right now. I look around and I see a sample of everything that I love. We have someone, and I really don't want to acknowledge anyone because everyone is special, but we have JJ's mother here. And this woman gave birth to this child with the amazing voice. I just want to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now that we have thanked her mother, we're going to get into thanking our mothers. And we're going to start with thanking Mother Earth. Now, you know I sit around when I come up with these topics from womb to tomb, and it just kind of tumbled out of me, and I'm like, well, where'd that come from? I went back, and I like to see where the history of something is. In 1870, 44 years before Mother's Day became a national holiday, there's a lady by the name of Julia Howell who wrote The Battle Hymn of Republic. Well, she had been nursing wounded soldiers during the Civil War, and she wrote this proclamation for peace. And the first Mother's Day came into being as a symbol of peace. And here is what she said. It's so rich, I have to read it as it is. She said, "Arise, then women of this day. Arise, all women who have hearts, whether our baptism be that of water or of tears. We women of one country will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs." From the bosom of the devastated earth, a voice goes up with our own. It says, disarm, disarm. The sword of murder is not the balance of justice. That was written by Julia Ward Howe in 1870. And she wrote it because she knew that mothers would be the source of peace in this country. And many years later, I'm going to go back 2 or 3 years ago, the Dalai Lama said, it will be the women that bring peace into this world as we know it. And my invitation is, we got to go back and look at who we are and what we are made of. And it's so ideal because it's mostly women here with a few men. And I'm going to ask this question. If you have ever loved a child, birthed a child, nurtured a child, it didn't have to be your own. It could have been a little worrisome kid next door. Raise your hand. Now, it's interesting. Thank you. Michael raised his hand because that nurturing, loving energy, it is called a feminine energy, but women do not have a corner on the market. That is a myth that we have bought into. Mother Earth, and they call it Mother Earth, and you know why? Because things grow from it. Now, one thing that all of us have in common, we may not have all had the same type of mother, but one thing I can tell you, man has created amazing things. Man has put people on the moon. Man has, has you with a telephone where I can call my husband way out in the remote grounds of Alaska. But man has never, nor will man ever, create a place like a womb. Every one of us came here, and one thing we all share in common, we all were residents for at least 7 or 8 months, 9 months ideally, in some woman's womb. Man has not replaced that. Man has not duplicated that. Oh, men donate. Don't get me wrong. They put their stuff in a jar and they can send it off to a clinic and they can freeze it. They can inject it later. But I tell you what, there is nothing like a woman with a womb. There's nothing that will ever replace that. When we as the women are aligned with that soft feminine power, that energy, that life-giving energy, even if you have never birthed a child, you came here with the capacity to be able to do that. And Mother Earth, that from which things grow. Vegetation grows from the earth. Going back to this womb where all of us resided in someone's womb at one point, what's really important is if I asked everyone in this room to give me a definition of a mother, you would all tell a different story. Here is the thing. Mothers are like movies in the sense that we can all read The Great Gatsby and agree it is a fabulous book, but we can all go to the movie and come away with a different perspective. That's called archetypes are what create perspectives. And we have an archetype of what a mother should be. If I ask someone, well, what is a mother to you? Oh, someone will agree, oh, they're loving, they're kind, they kiss your boo-boo when you hurt yourself, they feed you, they do this, they do that. And where did we get that? Where did we get that picture? It's based on what we've seen somewhere and the beliefs we have inherited from other people. Because this is what I can tell you. When I gave birth to my and I left the hospital, show you how God is so funny. My daughter was born on Mother's Day, and my birth mother made her transition on Mother's Day. We ain't going to touch that. But when I left 3 days later from giving birth to this child, they said feed her every 4 hours. And there I was, 19 years old. Well, what do I do? They didn't give me a manual. Now, here's what messes us up. We see our mothers, and a lot of us, you know, we have perfect mothers. And some of us, we have mothers who happen to be just humans. Before I had this child, I was just a young, married, 19-year-old girl. And in the blink of an eye, I was a mother. What none of us, or few of us, ever think about is, before your mother had the first child, she was just a young woman trying to figure out life. And oftentimes we are upset with our mothers because they didn't live up to the picture or the image that we had in our head, based on what we saw on the television, based on what we saw someone else's mother doing when we saw them in action. And so a lot of times we put our mother on the hook. That's what I call it. We guilt trip them. Well, I would have did this, but my mother didn't. I would have, and I would have. Here is the reality. Today, so that we can get on with life, this is going to be about letting your mother off the hook. Even if your mama deserved to be on the hook. You know why? I'm selfish. I want to let mothers off the hook. You know why? Because when you let your mama off the hook, you get off too. Because here's the thing. Soon as you hang somebody up there, you got to stay there and keep them. You get to stay there in the story. Well, my mama didn't. Well, if my mother gave me up for adoption, maybe you know what? Your mother loved you more than she loved her own selfish needs. Well, my mother, she did the best she knew how at that time. Now, I can say this because I struggled with my mother. I said God had a sense of humor. He didn't give me one mother. He gave me Miss Bertha and Miss Ola Mae. And, God and I have had a number of talks about that. What were you thinking? One of them was enough. But no, you gave me two. Now what I realize is I needed both of them. They were the yin and yang of life. They made me the whole that I am. So I had to let them off the hook so I could get on with my life. Because, I had a story. Oh, baby, did I have a story about what I coulda, shoulda, woulda did if only my mama. Let your mama off the hook so you can get on with your life. Now, talking about this archetype, the images that we have in our head about what mothers should be, if we realize that they were just humans first. They were young women, and for some of us, they were very young women when they had us. And they were trying to figure their way out. And like me, and like you, and you, and you, and you too, you know what? They were looking for love in all the wrong places. And sometimes they looked, and they looked, and they looked. And if you had a mother that was loving and nurturing, and she had a good role model, she could give you that. But I learned from my own experience. Your mother couldn't give you what she never had. If she didn't have it, and if she wasn't really aware of it, it's hard to give your child what you didn't have. And sometimes life gets in the way. And in one hand, you're trying to feed this baby that came with no instructions. You're trying to carve out a little life for yourself. And you're trying to be mother, and you really don't know what mother looks like. But here's what I know. When this woman carried you in her womb, she loved you. Because I'm looking around this room, and all of us are reasonably healthy. She loved you. She gave you a warm place to live, to grow, and to be nurtured. Even if when you came out, she gave you up for adoption. And I will tell you a story at the end of this of a sister-in-law of mine whose mother gave her up for adoption and how she went back looking for her to tell her thank you. Here's what I will say. Love is a divine need. That's what you get when you're carried in the womb. You get that love. You allow it. When the mother eats, you eat. You need it in here. Mothers eat healthy, and they had all these old wise tales. Ooh, don't look at that ugly man. You'll mark the baby. Ooh, don't do that. It'll do something to the baby. Someone loved you in here. That need for love does not ever go away. It is with you from the womb to the tomb. Now, how you get that need met is a different story. Let's talk about how we get our love Jones on. Some of us, we come here because we feel the love. Others of us seek it in the opposite sex or even the same sex. We seek it in relationships one-on-one. We seek it in groups that we join. We seek it in all these places because we recognize the need to be seen, to be appreciated, to be loved, to have close friends that we know will be there for us. And even the people that say, well, I'm a loner, I don't need anyone. Here's what I can tell you. Follow them home, and I bet you they have a pet, because the pet will give you unconditional love. This is a divine principle. Love is what you were conceived in, and it is life-sustaining. You can make like you don't need it, you can make like you don't want it, but you're going to get that fix somewhere. You may get it through your craft. I know people that love what they do so much, they pour everything into it. I'm going to show you just how important love is. How many of you saw the movie The Green Mile? In a prison. Okay, we all saw the movie. You remember the prisoner that had the little rat? Now, this was just a little old common, ugly prison rat. But when the guard came by and stepped on that rat and squished him, the man wept as if he had killed his child because that was his outlet for love. That was the one place where he could direct his love unconditionally and let it be. And then Michael Duncan blew life back into this rat. That's the power of love. It doesn't go away. It is what you were conceived in. Speaking of conception, we're going to go into the Bible. I love Jesus. I have to admit, I love me some JC. But when they talk about Jesus was born of the Virgin Mary, I started thinking about that this week, and I said, yeah. And then I said, well, what makes Jesus' conception any different from mine? You had an egg, and you had a source of fertilizing it. And it came together as it had never been before. What I can tell you is, each one of us in here, there was an egg, and someone fertilized it, and it came together, and it made you. That, to me, is a virginal concept right there. What makes my birth any different? I have never existed. My mother's egg was fertilized by my father, and they made me. That was as pure could get. I had never existed. They had never put that combination together, or I would have been someone else born at another time. But then if you follow Scripture, talking about from womb to tomb, Jesus in this immaculate conception, she had never been touched by a woman. Somehow, I don't think they had artificial insemination back then. There was the coming together of the two elements to make a child. But when you go back and you go all the way 33 years later, you get to the moment, that Good Friday when they crucified Jesus. And some of his people went there and said, we want his body. Because they were going to bury him with the rest of the folks. They said, can we dig him a tomb? And it tells us in the book of Luke, the 23rd chapter, that Jesus was buried in a new tomb, unused tomb, a virginal tomb. So that love that brought Jesus into existence, it was the same love that at the end to the tomb where he was buried, it had never been used. That same love that made you in the image that you are, that same love that brought you into this world, when we get and we make our transition and we leave this world, we're going to go out as we have never gone out before, and we're going to transcend in a new way. And it will be a virginal experience for each one of us. It will be a new tomb. If you're cremated, you'll be cremated by yourself. If you're buried, you'll be buried by yourself. You too will have that experience. There is this thing about, okay, we having these technical things. Every time I step away from it, it goes away. See, love helps us with our transcendence, meaning that under an umbrella of love, everything grows. You love your plants. You talk to your plants, they're going to grow. You love your child. You talk to your child, they're going to grow. And when the time comes and we graduate, and I call it graduate, we shed this earthly body, ideally someone is going to love us right up to that last moment, to that exiting moment when you take your last breath. As a matter of fact, they now do a training where they teach people to lay with people, to breathe with people as they get ready to make their transition. It's called the last walk. Now, I have a question about love. The big thing about from womb to tomb, the beginning to when you take that last breath, there's this one word. It's called allowing. Are you allowing love to come to you and through you? That's that nurturing that needs to take place. Our parents nurtured us, and as we get older, we find ourselves nurturing our parents. But there's that allowing. That is a very divine need, is to allow love to come to you and through you. That's why people have their pets, because that's how they allow love to come to them and through them. And it gives them the outlet. That's why a man adopted a rat, because that was his way. And it's always reciprocal. You give love and you get love. Most of us who have been fortunate enough to see our parents get up in age, they took care of us. And now I see my friends, they're taking care of their parents. But here is the deal. In this allowing love, you must be open. And I feel we have a responsibility to allow people to love us as fully as they can. I have a man who was in the hospital, and this particular group wanted to come and do something for him, and he was saying, oh no, oh no, oh no. After he'd been there 3 or 4 weeks, he said, okay, I can't tell you what it did for them to be able to go there and to love on him. Oh, you're going to get nurtured. The ticket is how? I say do it in a healthy way. Love your animal, but love your neighbor. Love your children, but love your friends. Love yourself, but love your community. Because from the womb to the tomb, you're going to need that love. And here's how I know that we know when we feel it, is when you look up and you see someone and their face lights up. You automatically start feeling that warm, giddy feeling. Ooh, they like me. That's that loving energy. And some people are that way by nature. I'm going to have to demonstrate this next piece. And I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back to something that we experience. This is my friend. When you see a mother holding a child, she loves this child in a way, and you see it and you say, yeah, that's nice, but you don't even think about it. Now I'm going to invite you to just give me a hug. This is what we do most of the time. We pat people on the back. Now I'm going to hug him, and I'm going to hug him differently. And it's non-sexual, but it's that soothing, nurturing hug. And this is what you see mothers do. Mm-hmm. Now, how did that feel? Different. It is amazing. I'm going to invite you later, if you are so comfortable, to hug someone and just gently stroke their spinal column. That is the nurturing love. Thank you. That all of us crave. There are people that will say, I just love it when you hug me. They don't know why. They don't know why. And it's because what I do is I just stroke that piece of them that seldom gets touched. And some of us who have had challenges like I did, I'll be the first to admit, I had some issues with my mother. I had some issues that caused me to use a lot of tissue. And my mother, I felt, didn't stroke me and nurture me. And then, years later, I had an opportunity to write my mother's obituary. And I realized that woman loved me the only way she knew how. Let your mama off the hook. Before she was your mother, she was just a woman trying to make it in the world. If you were so blessed as to have a loving, kind, nurturing mother and a daddy, and you lived the Ozzie and Harriet life, so be it. If you were given up for adoption, I have so many people that have come to me and they have struggled. My mother gave me up. She may have gave you up because she loved you more than she did her own selfish desire. Sometimes you give a child up because you figure somebody else can do a better job. So don't always think that the person that left you was your enemy. I told you I would share this story with you. My sister-in-law, Paula J. Trout, who is biracial. She is Korean and African American. She was born in Seoul, Korea after World War II. And her birth mother left her outside an orphanage. At that time, being a biracial child in Korea, her mother knew that she would never have a quality life. Her mother left her outside an orphanage. Paula's father, Bishop Trout, was a minister in LA, and he was talking to his congregants about adopting all these biracial babies all over the world. And his wife said, well, we should set the example. And they went to Korea, and they adopted Paula. They brought her back. She was 2 years old. They raised her. She went off to law school. She became a federal attorney. And years later, she wrote an article. She was looking for her birth mother. She had a Korean client they published this article. Soon enough, the Korean government sent 35 of these biracial children that had been adopted out. They invited them back to Korea. And all of them were successful now, so we're going to bring you home. You can be one of us. You've turned out to be something. They brought them to Korea, and Paula searched for years. And finally, she received a letter from a man that said, I am your brother. Our birth mother passed several years ago. I recognize you because you look just like her. And he went on to share some details that only he could have known that were not included in any article. I asked Paula, why are you so insistent? She said, because she loved me enough to give me a chance. And in giving me a chance, I want to go back and say thank you. Thank you for leaving me at the doorstep of possibility and allowing me to have a life. She wanted to take care of this woman. She wanted to show this woman that what she had done was the best thing that she could have done. Now, what I will say is this. Those of us that have mothers that are still living, those of us that have mothers that have made their transition, we're going to do a little exercise. And I have done this before, but it's about accepting your mother as a human, even if it does not fit your archetype of the perfect mother. There is no such thing as the perfect mother. That's like the perfect man. It wasn't that funny. There is no, it's only perfect if it's what you need. It's like the perfect family. And we need to give up these archetypes because they no longer serve us. It used to be when you say the couple down the street, it was automatically assumed it was a man and a woman, and he was going to be 3 years older than her. Nowadays, it can be two men, it can be two women, it can be a combination of things. When you said, well, your children, it meant you were the mother and the father. It doesn't mean that anymore. And our children that are coming through us, these children need something different than what we needed because every generation becomes more advanced. So we have to parent differently. It used to be the mama stayed at home and did the mothery things and the father went out and made the living. But that's not necessarily the news. We have what they call stay-at-home fathers now who are better suited to stay home and raise the children. But what we all have is a need to be nurtured and loved from the time of conception to the time of transition. And there's one thing that blocks our ability to receive that love is if we're stuck on being angry, bitter, resentful, ashamed, blocking our blessing because we're mad with somebody that didn't live up to the picture we had in our mind. When you think about it, can you really be mad with somebody because they don't live up to the picture you have in your mind? And here's the sad part about it. I will say this as a mother. I failed miserably according to my daughter. You know why? I gave her what was important to me. I gave her vacations and the theater and the arts, and that wasn't what she needed. But when I grew up, that's what I craved. I wanted to go to the theater and to the arts and dress up and do all that fun stuff. So when I became a mother, guess what I did? I gave her that. And years later, she said, all I wanted you to do was be at home. And I was like, oh, I should have had a V8. I just missed the whole. I was surprised when I realized what she needed from me. I was around here buying cars, taking her to Hawaii. She didn't want any of that. That was my picture. So let's let mommies off the hook today. Are we willing? Yeah. Even those that have wonderful moms that are here, when you think about all the things mom does for you that you like, and you think about the times, oh, she just getting on my nerve. I know it's hard to believe this, but you probably got on her nerve too. Kids are very selfish. Oh, my mama gets on my, she getting on my nerve. I remember my brother used to say, Mama's nerving me up. Can you imagine how many times you nerved your mother up? Every time you went to the refrigerator and said, Mama, we don't have any more milk. She was thinking, God, I wish this kid didn't eat so much. So let's let mommies off the hook, okay? I think we did this exercise last week, and those of you that weren't here, this is what I invite you to do. Sit up with your legs and arms uncrossed. And bring your mother's face and her name to mind so that you can see her crystal clear. And you're going to silently in your head speak her name. And when you inhale, you're going to say, I accept you. And when you exhale, you're going to say, I bless you. You're going to do this 3 times. And the only instruction I'm going to give you is to inhale and to exhale. And I'm going to set this up by just leading it into a prayer. Mother, Father, God, I stand together with like-minded souls. I stand in the presence of the Almighty. That spiritual truth, the truth where sometimes mothers didn't live up to our expectation, and sometimes mommy exceeded our expectation. But today I bless Mother Earth, and I bless the mother's womb who created a space for me for 9 months, who loved me enough to push and birth me into the world. And if she did nothing else, I stand here to say thank you. And as I bring Lee Bertha Davis to mind and Ola Mae Moore Johnson to mind, I see their lovely faces, and I accept that they did the best they knew how at that time. And as you've brought your mother's face and name to mine, inhale and say, I accept you. Exhale, I bless you. Inhale, I accept you. Exhale, I bless you. Inhale, I accept you. Exhale, I bless you. And in the name of the one living God that casts the stars in the sky and every grain of sand on the beach, I say thank you, God. Thank you for the mothers that love the only way they know how. Thank you for the peace that flows through mothers by nature. Thank you every day in every way for every woman that has nurtured a child. I call it good and very good. And I release this into the alchemy of love and law. And together we say, and so it is. How many of y'all were willing to let mom off the hook? That's it. Let her go. Because if you let your mother off the hook, for even the minor infractions. My mama didn't make my favorite cake for my birthday. Guess what? You allow yourself to create a space to be loved and nurtured somewhere in life by the perfect person. Now that I have done that, we have totally messed up our flow. And JJ is going to sing, I'm not sure. Yeah, but I already done the prayer. Yes, you can do that song. And we're going to go right into our offertory. I changed things, so would you like to do that? Do that. Oh, here we are. Thank you, I gotta love that guy back there. And I'm gonna invite you to lighten up and stand up.
Lovely, aren't we beautiful? Angels from heaven, stars in the universe, and so it's true that love will be a reflection of you and me. Aren't we lovely? Yeah, made from love. Okay, everybody, you get this opportunity to sing with me today. Aren't we lovely? And hug a mother. So feel free to sing along. And we'll get started right now. Here we go. Aren't we lovely? Aren't we beautiful? Angels from heaven, stars in the universe. And so it's true that love will be a reflection of you and me. Aren't we lovely? Made from love. One more time, come on. Aren't we lovely? Aren't we beautiful? Angels from heaven, stars in the universe. And so it's true that love will be a reflection of you and me. Aren't we lovely? Made from love. Aren't we lovely? Made from love. Aren't we lovely? Made from love. All right, give yourselves a round of applause for being here.
Love a mom today the best way you know how, yours or someone else's, because that love and that need never goes away. You may be seated. In your program, there's a connection card. And this connection card tells us who you are. Fill out only what you need. Even if you've been here before, let us know that you're here. On the back side, if you have a prayer request, you may write it down. And when you finish the connection card, it will go in the offertory basket. Now, one thing I didn't say as you're filling that out, I will say this. When I realized that Mother's Day came out of a woman's desire for peace, what I know is we as women have the potential to bring peace onto this planet. We are much more powerful than we ever thought we were. I don't care what anyone told you. Man cannot duplicate the specialness of a woman. And there is no one that's living that did not come through a woman. That makes us really unique. And I'm going to invite you. I know we live in a high-tech society. Do what I call a 30-second call and call those mothers and just say Happy Mother's Day. It's a lot more personable and special than texting or Facebooking or emailing. I'd rather have 30 seconds of personal time with you than a message that's 10 minutes long. I want to hear your voice. And we have our affirmation up, and my dear beloved Darren is going to come forward. And I'm going to ask you to put whatever your gift is, that gift of love, that energy we call money. And that's what love is. Nurturing is just good energy. Love is good energy. Money is just good energy. Hold it over your heart. And I will wait till you have prepared and let me know as you hold it over your heart. And look up and let's read this